evening and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Sue Perez. Today's show is going to be split up in two. The first half, we're going to talk about cancer, and the second half, we're going to talk about hormones. Dr. Lee Erin Keneally is no stranger to us, so join me and welcome her. Doctor, again, thank you. You're one of our most popular guests here.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
For anyone who might be tuning in for the first time, tell us about Center for New Medicine and who you are, what you do in general.
All right. Well, people do know, but there's always education. We always educate our people, and there's always
the fact that you're from Texas too. That's important.
Yes, I grew up in Houston, Texas. Went to medical school in Chicago, and came out to the wonderful state of California for residency. And then I've been practicing medicine in California for 25 years. And I started out as a real conventional medical doctor, prescribing and dispensing medications. And then I found that my patients weren't getting better. I was just maintaining or accelerating their disease. And I thought, okay, there's got to be better ways. So I started exploring all different possibilities for patients to heal. And so now I use all the science of conventional medicine, which blood work and scans and x-rays and biopsies and MRIs and all these wonderful technology we have to discover and figure out what people have. But my treatments might be nutrition, might be homeopathy, might be energy treatments, acupuncture treatments, all kinds of herbs, all different things to support and heal the body. Mm-hmm. And so the body has this amazing, miraculous way to heal itself. And so when we get into a crisis of craziness with diabetes or cancer or hormone problems or fibromyalgia or any disease, that means the body is in a state of imbalance. Mm-hmm. And so we've tried to get everything back into balance.
And you sleep good at night knowing how you treat your patients.
Yes, because the Hippocratic Oath is first, do no harm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and you're right, because I sometimes wonder, like other doctors, that the third leading cause of death in this country is the properly prescribed use of medication. Mm-hmm. So medications are really good in emergencies and for the immediate treatment of something. If someone has a high blood pressure or if someone's having a heart attack, you will use medications. Mm-hmm. But then we have to figure out why, where, when, and how. What is the root cause of this problem?
Excellent, excellent. Well, today we're going to take all that in principle and talk about cancer. So, number one, why are so many people, young and old, being diagnosed with cancer today?
Well, that's a loaded question,
I know it is.
Sue.
So go ahead and take 15 minutes.
Well, the number one cause of death now, between 1 and 85, is cancer. Mm-hmm. And it is the number one cause of death after accidents in children 1 to 15 years of age. 1 in 3 women are getting cancer today, and 1 in 2 men. And yes, you're right. Everyone's lives are being touched with cancer, either their friends or their relatives, their children, their parents. And it's a devastating disease. Mm-hmm. And if we look at when Nixon declared war on cancer back in 1970, and I think he put in $100 million in figuring out why are people getting cancer back then? Mm-hmm. And now we have spent way more than $100 million and lots of charities, lots of events, lots of research, lots of institutions trying to figure out the magic bullet of cancer. But why are people getting cancer? Well, genetics is not the cause, because they did a study of 44,000 twins and found that basically nutrition and lifestyle were the most significant factors, and that there was not this dramatic correlation of genetics and cancer. So that's less than 5%. But if we look at our lifestyle, what we're eating and what we're exposed to, toxicity in our air, food, and water, it's everywhere. And the water drinking has lots of chemicals in it, so people have to drink water that is cleansed. Mm-hmm. People eat dead processed foods. People don't eat food from God. They don't. We do not eat whole foods, fresh vegetables and fresh fruits. And so that's where all the medicine is. Mm-hmm. The medicine is in our food. Yes, Are there other nutrients that can be accessorizing, like spices? People don't realize the value of all the spices have in cancer prevention. Let's take turmeric. Turmeric, it's a spice used in Indian foods, and you can take a pill. It is a wonderful, wonderful food that God gave us. If you look at, I tell people, if you don't like vegetables, juice your vegetables, drink your food. Put a little raw honey in there, put a coconut cream or oil, make it taste better, and do that. Anybody can close their nose and drink down, 8 to 10 ounces. You can buy green powders. And so there's all kinds of ways, but if we continue to eat dead food, I mean, what does the average person eat every morning? Cereal. If you ask children in school, that's what they eat. And a lot of adults do the same thing. I had a patient, brand new, came in this week from North Carolina. He has pancreatic cancer, and I said, well, what do you eat every morning? He says, oh, Egg McMuffin. And so this is food that does not have any vital nutrients. The fats are bad. The food is dead. There's absolutely no vitamins and nutrition in the food. And then we talk about stress.
I wanted to ask you actually about that.
Yeah, stress. A lot of every illness, from cold to cancer, there's an unresolved emotional conflict. So by tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I'm asking everyone to get rid of their toxic relationship and their toxic feelings of, anger and hatred and jealousy and rage and all the things that people carry on forever and ever and ever. And so we have to address, that's probably the first thing I address, is the unresolved emotional conflict. If you ask any cancer patient, well, what do you think you have this? They will immediately tell you why they think they have cancer. So you have to solve this riddle of illness with a patient.
So interesting.
I always start with their head. Stress starts in the head and ends in the body. Yeah. And there's a very famous doctor, Dr. Hammer from Germany. He is an oncologist himself. He's got cancer himself when he was 50, and his son was tragically killed the year before.
Ooh.
So he just could not get off of it. I mean, just could not. It was an unresolved thing. They didn't know why it happened and who did it, and he just could not. Which is normal for a parent. You can't. When your child dies, I mean, that's part of you.
Yeah.
And so he could not get over it. So anyway, he got this team of people, and he started asking all of his patients, every single patient that had cancer, and he said, so what happened to you? What happened to you? And he figured out that there was a common thread with every single patient that he had, and he treated over 30,000 people. So it wasn't like 5 people or 100 people, it was lots of people. And he found that they all had a brain shock, emotional trauma in their lives, and that instead of being resolved, it ended up in their body.
It lends credence to that statement that says, some of these emotional things can actually eat you alive.
Very true
we don't
statement.
think about it when we use it, but something's bothering you, say, oh, it's eating me alive, and how real.
Yeah, it is real.
So,
and it's not just for cancer. Every disease process, I think, there's an emotional component.
Yeah. And I know you have more to say on that. We kind of move along a little bit. You have so much information, we want to get it out. Talk to us about chemo and radiation for cancer.
Okay, well, the conventional treatments for a patient who has cancer in most situations is surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. So we've been doing that for about 60 years. And so if you look at the number of deaths per 100,000 people, it's the same as it was in 1970 as it is in 2011. So the 5-year survival rate of a person just doing surgery, chemo, and radiation is 2%. So would you go through all of that, just do that, if your survival rate was less than 2%? No. So I tell people, sometimes we do surgery, sometimes we do chemo, sometimes we do radiation, or a combination thereof. But that's just the first 1 or 2 steps of the 100 steps to resolve and get peace in your body. You have to make the other changes. I'll give you an example. I had a patient, flew in from Ohio a couple of months ago. She had a bilateral, which means both breast, mastectomy, which is complete removal of her breast. They did chemo and radiation, and 9 months later, she got dizziness and couldn't walk, and they did an MR of her brain, and she had 17 brain tumors. Oh. Because what did they not do? They didn't figure out why she got cancer in the beginning. You have to change whatever you were doing. You've got to change from here all the way over here. You have to make a 180-degree change. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results.
Yeah.
So obviously, if that paradigm of medicine worked, then and we saw the improvement, then yes, let's do it and let's enhance it. But we're not getting better at survival rates, and the death rates from cancer have not decreased at all.
I've heard someone say that they don't know the cause of breast cancer, but what you're saying is even breast cancer is included in your thinking here.
Any cancer. Cancer is a multifaceted problem. There's no magic bullet, and there's never going to be a magic bullet. The body is very complicated. There's an amazing biochemistry, an amazing energy at the body, and what you have is different than the next person.
Yeah.
Let's say you have something, but it's not the same disease in the next person, just like a person who has menopause. Every woman experiences the menopause journey differently. Just for cancer, a person's breast cancer, it's not the same in every person, and there's different emotional issues, there's different physiological issues. Is their vitamin D level? What kind of toxins do they carry?
And that's where you differentiate then in the treatment of what's needed to overcome these.
Right, because it's a mind, body, spirit approach. So we always get into what's going on, what's the person's mental and emotional countenance, what is going on. And it's really amazing, Sue, how people will tell you in seconds why they think where they are. They will tell you right away. I've never had a patient not be able to say, oh gosh, I've been taking care of my mother. She's had Alzheimer's for 5 years. Or I've been in a very, very terrible marriage. It's just been abusive. It's been horrible, and I've gone through divorce, and I'm really not over it. Every patient will tell you exactly. So, and then if you don't address, how are they sleeping? Are they getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep all the way through the night? Not broken up and waking up 3 and 4 times, but sleeping 7 to 8 hours. How much water are they drinking? Are they drinking toxic water? What kind of food? What is their diet like? Are they eating foods that they're allergic to? If you're eating foods that your body doesn't like, then you're going to be sick. But you have to eat foods that have vital nutrients, the micronutrients available to your body so it can heal itself. What kind of exercise are you doing? Do you sit around and just be a slug? You've got to use your body every day. You've got to get sunshine every day. Are you detoxing? All of my cancer patients, actually every single patient of mine today now detoxes. And I have a little menu that I give patients, and cleaning out their liver, their colon. I give them daily detox. So absolutely, I tell them, it's not that you're so bad, it's the world around you that's not good.
And what the person or the patient has access to or doesn't have access to.
And there's simple little things that you can do. Just an Epsom salt bath for 20 minutes is a great way to detox. Skin brushing. People don't realize just skin brushing is a great way to detox. There's a lot of little things that they can just do at home. And this is what we need to be getting out there. And I'm so glad that TBN wants people to be healthy, because how are they going to listen to all the wonderful messages and news that we have to give out if they do not have their health? Your health is your most important asset. And you can't do anything. Your life is paralyzed and on hold when you don't have your health.
True. No matter how much money do you have, or whatever. I know there's so much more to say on that, and if I can use this term, I love your preaching. But let's talk about hormones a little bit. What are hormones, and how do we need them? Why do we need them?
Well, that's a loaded question, Sue. But it's such a critical, important information, though, just like it is about cancer. But hormones, you can't live without, by the way. But hormones are chemical messengers that turn the body on and off.
Okay.
They turn organs and glands on and off. You have hundreds of hormones floating around, circulating in your bloodstream to tell the body what to do. Whether it's your sleep, wake up, thinking, synthesizing, brain concentration, focus, your heartbeat, your lungs, your bones, your circulation, your skin. So let's go through the 4 major groups of hormones.
Okay.
We don't have time to go over all of them, but hormones work in an orchestra or in symphony. And like I tell people, you have the wind, the percussion, string, etc. And so, like, you know how they're playing and then one's not playing and then they come in and it's like, oh my God, this sounds grand or beautiful. Well, that's just the way the body is. You could come into me and say, oh gosh, Dr. Kenneally, I'm just, tired, I'm fatigued, I'm getting cold, my hair, it's not that good anymore, my skin doesn't look that good. You might even be telling me that anyway, Sue. But anyway, the first most important gland, or not the most important because they're all important, but the gland that we'll start out with is the thyroid. The thyroid sits here in your neck. And so the thyroid is like what I call the battery to the body. So if you have cold hands, cold feet, low body temperature, constipation, dry skin, hair like feeling it's weak, then you probably have a thyroid problem. And sometimes blood tests don't always indicate whether you're low or not.
Okay.
And so sometimes I have patients do their temperature, their basal body temperature to ascertain. And since we've had the radiation from Japan with the earthquakes that they've had and just with the changes of all the natural disasters, it affects us. So your thyroid drives the metabolism of every single cell in your body. So if you do not have a good thyroid function, you feel like a slug, basically. You just when you wake up in the morning, you're tired. So that's the thyroid gland. Now the thyroid gland, if I were to take it out, if I were to surgically remove it, you wouldn't be alive. You wouldn't wake up. You literally, your heart couldn't beat without your thyroid. So that's pretty critical.
Important, yeah.
So, and there's people all the time that have thyroid surgeries, and if they were to run out of their medications, they would not be able to be alive. Now, the next hormones are your pancreas hormones, which control your blood sugar. And we know that diabetes is escalating and astronomical. It's a pandemic, which means all over the world. And that makes insulin and glucagon. And the pancreas is very susceptible to toxins, so we have to be really, really careful because we have so much toxicity, so the diabetes rates, and it doesn't matter, you can be skinny, overweight, it doesn't matter because it just doesn't matter anymore. Diabetes is prevalent no matter if you exercise, you eat right, do everything right because of the toxicity of the planet. But when someone is diabetic, let's say they're pre-diabetic, they'll feel fatigued, especially after eating. They eat a sandwich for lunch and they're tired, or they gain weight around their middle, or they just can't lose weight, or they have sugar craving. They might have dizziness. They may have little neurological symptoms like their nerves hurt and stuff. So now if you're an extreme diabetic, like you're really bad, you're going to have excessive urination, terrible weight loss because the sugar will pull all the water out of the body. You'll have excessive hunger, and so and you could even be in coma. I mean, that's how bad a diabetic can get with their levels of extreme. But you will feel absolutely like you can't move. You're just, you're just fatigued 24/7. So that's the pancreas gland. Then we have glands that sit on top of our kidneys called the adrenal glands, and these glands are our stress, longevity, and immune glands. Now, they make over 100 hormones. We usually check the adrenal gland functions by testing one blood test called DHEA sulfate. And the DHEA is the predominant hormone made by our adrenal glands. Now, who isn't stressed? Every man, woman, and child is stressed today. And so if you have adrenals control your circulation, they control your adaptability to stress, they control your blood sugars, they control your energy levels, they control your electrolyte imbalances, they control how your body responds to stress. Hundreds of functions. I consider it probably the most important because it makes over 100 hormones. Wow. So it's critical. It affects your sleep. There isn't any bodily function that it doesn't. Then in women, we have ovaries, and in men, we have testicles. Now in your ovaries, you make 3 kinds of estrogens. You make progesterone, and you make testosterone, and men make the exact same hormones, except their testosterone levels are about 20 times more than a female's. So when a woman goes through menopause, like we were talking about earlier, they can have premenopause, and you can have even premature menopause, which is like a 30-year-old who will go through menopause early, and she will have hot flashes and tiredness and vaginal dryness and can't think and irritable. And so that normally menopause takes place about 50, give or take 5 years. And so they will not feel good, and there's natural hormones and synthetic hormones. But let's talk about the guys first. So the guys make testosterone, and now what we're seeing, it's not just a disease of age. We see now hormonal problems in all age groups. Why? Because we have these little chemicals, what we call endocrine disruptors. So endocrine stands for hormone disruption by all the chemicals. The biggest chemical, if we were to test everyone in the studio today, we would find that plastics is the #1 pollutant in all of us. Now, what do plastics do? Well, they disrupt everything, and they get in there and they gum up the body. So they cause heart disease and diabetes and cancer and hormone problems. So we're seeing a dramatic increase in hormonal problems. We're seeing low testosterone in 22-year-olds.
Before you go on there, talk to us about what do you mean by plastics?
Well, like plastic water bottles.
Okay.
Ziploc bags.
So it's an environmental thing.
It's an environmental thing. And see, plastic is not biodegradable. Mm-hmm. So the ocean's full of it. They call it, National Geographic, I think, did a show called The Plastic Ocean, because they'll show you, if you can go online, you can see there's just, big bodies of plastic sitting there, because we have no way of getting rid of it.
Yeah.
And so it's not, but we are living off the planet. Mm-hmm. So so whatever's good for us needs to be good for the planet. And so we need to create an awareness and a mindfulness of this plastic thing. So everyone needs to get plastic out of their life. So they can start with getting rid of the plastic water bottles. And then people use all kinds of other plastic. Just kind of take inventory one day of how much plastic you use. We all use. Now they're trying to develop new substances and materials that can replace the plastic, but we all individually can do our part. Every little bit we can do our part. And what we need to think about when we are living our life is, how is this going to help me, and how is this going to help the planet? Because we live off the planet, so we need to take care of the earth that we're living in.
Sure. Goes both ways.
Yes, exactly.
So talk to us a little bit here. I have my question list here, but I'm interested also in what you have to say about women and how they deal with menopause, hot flashes, and things like that, where their hormones are concerned.
Right. Well, like I said, most women enter menopause at about the age of 50. Now, if you don't have your hormones, let's just face it, you are just not going to feel good. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. I have women who are 70 who do not take hormones and feel absolutely fabulous. That's the exception. But most women, they can't sleep at night. Well, if you don't sleep, your whole world is over.
Right.
If you don't sleep, there's no sense in living, because sleep is the elixir of life. It's what helps you handle life in every single way. So most women have terrible sleep disturbance. Their skin all over gets very, very dry, and a lot of them crepey, and then they always say, "Look, Dr. Keneally, look at this. Look at my skin has changed. Your hair has changed." Then you're fanning yourself. Mm-hmm. Hot flashes every hour, all day long, and they wake you up, and so you can't sleep, and then you get vaginal dryness, and then you get foggy head. It's caught in between the ears. You feel absolutely horrible. And so you just don't feel good. You're moody, you're irritable. It's very, very profound. Hormones are so underestimated in our society, and people are like, "Oh my God, you shouldn't take hormones. Oh my goodness." Well, the studies that were done at the Women's Health Initiative, that was done in 2002, they used synthetic hormones. You should never take synthetic hormones, because all hormones exist naturally in nature. Testosterone, for men and women, estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, all these hormones exist naturally in nature from yams and or soybeans. So you should always take exactly what your body makes, which are the ones in nature are biochemically exactly like what you make.
So what do you recommend then in the form of supplements to look for, to know that you're not taking anything synthetic?
Well, because synthetic hormones would be something like Premarin. It would be, there's another thing that another prescription that they give women for menopause. It's like a birth control pill for older people. So, but it's all synthetic hormones.
So those are all prescribed too then?
Those are all prescribed, but natural hormones are also prescriptions.
Okay.
Just like thyroid. Thyroid is a prescription that is to be monitored by a doctor. Biologically identical hormones are prescribed by a doctor and given by a doctor. DHEA. Now, DHEA you can buy at the local health food store. There are some things that you can buy.
Is there anything particular to look for, to ask for when you go buy those?
Well, what you want to do is you want your doctor, you want to tell your doctor, look, I only want to use natural hormones. That's all. I don't want to use anything synthetic. And so the doctor, but you want to make sure the doctor understands that, because not every doctor is schooled in...
What do you mean by natural?
Yeah, natural, exactly. So if the doctor asks that and they'll go, okay, well, what did you get from your prior, then you know that
Which is another reason people should just come see you.
Yeah. Well, there are other doctors that do what I do around the country, but they really have to understand. I've been doing it for hormones. I've been doing it for over 20 years. And so, and it's close to my heart because I have had hormonal problems. So I understand and I know what people are going through. And that's what patients, they want to be heard.
Yeah.
And doctors don't listen to patients. They don't listen to what the patients are telling the doctor, and they dismiss it. Well, no, these are big, big issues. You know, these are gigantic, enormous issues.
Now, we've got about a minute to go on the show, Doctor. Talk to us about maybe a testimonial, some of the things you've seen in your practice with the way you treat people.
Oh, goodness. Well, I think the biggest thing that I see is people are just so thankful, one, that I listened, two, that they say, gosh, Dr. Neal, you gave me my life back. Because people are not living. They're kind of halfway living. I want people to live their life to the maximum capacity with great energy and high spirits. Yeah. That's what life is. But if you're a slug and you feel awful and all you do is complain and you have ailments all day, that is not fun.
True.
That is not fun. So I'm all interested in teaching everybody and educating, because you have to educate people. We have to educate people about health. Health is a process, not a one-time event. And it's something you're working on steadily all the time. And I'm not saying you're going to be perfect. There isn't anybody perfect on the planet. There's no such thing as perfect people. But there are tools that you can do and embrace and start utilizing in your life. Small changes make big differences. And patients tell me that all the time. And like today, right before I came here, I had a 79-year-old lady, and she looked fabulous, and she's on medication. She goes, Dr. Neal, I've asked the doctor every visit, can I get off these meds? He goes, oh, okay, next time we'll do that. Next time that. But she wants to ride her bike, and she wants to do all these wonderful things and enjoy life.
Enjoy life. That's the key. Enjoy life.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.
She was the cornerstone of our family. She shaped me as an actor, as a musician, as a human being. So when my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer, it was like our whole family got cancer. And she died when she was only 56, so this is personal. And hopefully my heartbreak is your wake-up call. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer, but you can prevent this disease. Screening finds precancerous polyps so they can be removed before they turn into cancer. I've been screened. If you think that you're at an increased risk like I am, ask your doctor when to start screening. And if you're 50 or older, please get screened. I'd do anything to have my mother here. Please do all you can to stay around for yourself and for your family. Screening saves lives.